Welcome to the Teach Bigger podcast. I'm Chris Mosley. I'm here with Chris Pratt and Tyler Damon. Hello, guys.
Hey there.
Hello.
And I'm super excited today. We have our first guest. I think, is it our first guest?
This is our first guest for Teach Bigger podcast.
I'm super excited. This is Mr. Kenneth Shields. Kenneth is a great friend of mine, and we just had a conversation, and I realized that I've known him for over 20 years. 20 years. So I'm 21. So I met him the year after I was born.
Right.
But we met in middle school, and then went to the same high school, and then we graduated at different times, and then we ended up like kind of meeting in our professional lives because we taught around the same area. But he's a really great friend, and he's a good resource for us today. So welcome, Mr. Kenneth Shields, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess, Chris, you can let us know like where we're going now.
So Kenneth is an administrator at a very large high school in Texas, and so we've been talking a lot on the program about what we need to be doing to prepare for next year, and kind of looking at the effects of this pandemic and what it's doing just in our own sphere of influence. But we thought it'd be really great to have a new lens to look through, and that of a campus administrator. So Kenneth, we're hoping tonight, that you can just kind of share your story with us and help us to kind of better understand, what does it look like from an admin side, like, as you guys are preparing and planning, and what are your concerns, and maybe what are some of the things that you've learned. So hopefully tonight's program is going to really kind of help everybody see a different picture. If you are listening or viewing this show, then hopefully this kind of triggers some thoughts in your mind, and maybe get you in the planning phase of where you're going next. So go ahead, Mosley. Go ahead, Mosley.
I thought you were asking him.
Oh, no. I was going to turn it back over to you.
Oh, well, I mean, sure. Okay. Well,
I hate when he does that.
Okay, so look, something I'm really good at is just passing it over. I like people to be on their toes. I mean, that's important.
Well, I'm always on my toes.
You need to be paying attention.
That makes sense.
Because what I have found is when I speak, a lot of people stop paying attention, and I want to make sure that you're listening.
Millions of people don't pay attention. Okay, well, I'm fine. Okay, so first, Mr. Shields, I know, like right now, as far as and on my side, I know that administrators they're running around crazy. I know one thing that I tell a lot of my people. I have a lot of people that right now, you couldn't pay me to be an administrator, because I feel like you guys are having to do so much right now and juggle so many different things that you didn't have to deal with before. I mean, I know you did before, but I guess it's more apparent now because of the way information is coming down from the top. So I guess just talk me through like a typical day, like what type of things are you doing right now just in the day? And then we'll go into the next part.
I think it has different, like at the beginning, it was very like every day things were changing. It was a constant change. Like we would say something at the beginning, like at the beginning of the day, and then the next hour something else would come out, and we had to change our entire plan. So like the beginning was very different from now. Now we kind of have a structure. We have a routine. I think for the most part, it's between Zooms and then being on campus. I spend a large chunk of my day in Zooms right now, whether that's on campus or
but with adults, right? You have to talk to adults all the time.
It's adults all day, and I think that's the biggest change for me in my job. And for me personally, like I talk to kids all day, and I'm constantly going and meeting kids, or not even meeting kids, but just having conversations with kids, and that has pretty much gone to like 0%. Unless a parent is like, "Hey, come get on the phone," so your AP's calling right now. But for the most part, I've lost that kid connection. But now it's a lot about putting out fires for teachers. That is literally my day in a whole different way. I think like in the past, like if I was putting out a fire, I had a chance to kind of investigate, figure out what's going on. But right now it's kind of like, let me just put this Band-Aid on everything just until I can actually get with y'all, or I can get a Zoom together, or even if it's on a Zoom, that's not even the best way to handle a situation. And I guess kind of give a specific example, like one of the teams that I work with, but even before we left, They had some personality issues and things like that. But this has exacerbated it. And it
Yeah,
has been a
I know.
bigger thing because now I've got to work together, but I really don't have to talk to you if I don't want to.
Mhm.
So it's a whole different kind of
Are you
ball.
are you having to do a lot of like micromanaging of teachers?
At the beginning, we intentionally did. Um,
Ah,
and we talked about that. Like everything will start, we will decentralize a lot of power. And it was for our department chairs, that was a shock because we give our department chairs a lot of leeway and power to take care of things. And
mhm.
I remember we had one department chair meeting and they were like, we've never had to do this. We've never just y'all never just did all of it.
Yeah,
But because of the way things were changing and the information that needed to get out, we centralized,
I get
and
it. Got it.
everything just kind of came from the top down.
Mhm.
So let me ask this, Kenneth. So like, what was the initial, campus and district response? Like I'm assuming it was right around spring break for you guys. That's where it was for most of us. And, then
Mhm.
we kind of got that word like, hey, it's probably not a good idea to go back to school. And then people started to make, rapid succession of decision after decision. So did that catch you as an administration off guard as far as your just preparedness to make changes quickly? Or is that something that you felt like, we are always making changes on a regular basis, so this was just another maybe more complicated change? But in other words, I guess what I'm asking is, was your culture intact, or did you feel that this was really trying for the culture of your campus?
So I think there's two parts for us from my campus perspective. We are a relatively new campus. We are in our ending our second year as a campus. So one thing, we're used to change right now.
Mm-hmm.
Things that are constantly changes. We're adding we add 50 staff every year.
Wow.
So I think we're used to change. Um, this was still a shock like for everybody else. But I think we were more prepared than other people um, for the change. And I think we have built a staff that, I'll tell you, when we interview, we send a document that essentially says, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and these are our expectations. And one of those things is about having growth mindset, but also being flexible. Everything changes all the time
Mhm.
in our school, and we are intentional about talking to people about that as we hire people. And we always say we are looking for thoroughbreds, not donkeys. And so we need people who can adapt to the culture and adapt to things that happen every day.
Adapt. Mhm.
And so I think the thing that I hear from parents and teachers all the time is, hey, y'all handled this so well. And compared to, hey, my child's school, now I'm getting all of this.
Yeah.
Or I didn't getting any information or anything like that. So
Yeah, and I think that kind of is a resounding statement for all education right now. From what I'm hearing, is people are going like, "Wow, teachers really know what they're doing. Like administrators have really got this together." So I mean, I think that's a really exciting point. So what would you say was maybe the biggest struggle for y'all to adapt? I mean, obviously the whole situation is challenging, and if any of us had a choice, we probably wouldn't be doing this way. But that being said, like, what would you say has been your number one obstacle?
I think for us, I really will say, I think the biggest thing at the beginning was trying to figure out how do we get all this information that keeps coming to us out to everybody, and it's clear, and it's not convoluted, it's not something that's going to confuse everybody. How do
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of get everything out to everyone? um, and even before we knew we were supposed to be socially distancing or really socially distancing, we were having admin meetings at each other's houses at the beginning of
Right.
this every single day. um, just trying to figure out how do we get information out. And I think at the beginning, we were overwhelming ourselves because we were making videos and we were sending out all these like memos and all of these
Yeah.
different,
Mhm.
overwhelming ourselves. And then it would change, and then we had to go redo everything. So I
Mhm.
think that
Mm-hmm.
was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
okay.
go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say, like, from like because now it kind of feels like normal, right? It kind of feels like your normal everyday, I guess, as normal as it can get.
Yeah.
So, like, from your normal everyday that you do now with your Zoom meetings, whatever, what are some of the challenges, or maybe something that kind of annoys you, that because like maybe like you want to come out and like touch somebody, but you can't because you're in a screen. Like, what is one of those things, especially being where you're dealing on the administrative side and then dealing with students and dealing with teachers, like you're kind of in the middle of it all. Like, do you feel any challenges like that?
Yeah, actually. So we're hot and heavy in interview season right now. And if you've ever done interviews and you sit in an interview, and people are coming to campus, you get a feel for people and you can kind of get a
body language, see the whole person.
Yeah.
See if you connect. Right now, you don't have that. And so it's kind of like a guess. Is this person really work?
I know.
And I can say in all the interviews that I've done, I've had some good people, but that kind of scares me because I'm like, do you just have the answers there now? Or like, how do I truly know if you're the best fit for the kids?
I think okay. No, I was kind of talking about that part too, like, and then you can talk as far as like getting personality across from like this, the computer. I feel like if you get some of it across, that's a good thing because it's really hard because you feel like you're talking to yourself. Because I've done interviews, and for the people that come across like calm and like passionate and whatever, if I'm getting that from them, through that, I'm like, well, they, it's probably even better in person. So I don't know. I just added that in.
No, that makes sense too.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's definitely hard. It's hard to do this.
Yeah.
Hey, so I have a question. So, what is your class requirements as far as like your teachers? Are they required to have so many classes a week, so many hours a week? What's that like in your district? Because we work in different districts, obviously.
Okay, so when we started this process, like I told y'all, we started sitting and meeting very early on. And one of the things that we agreed to as a team is our motto for this whole thing was going to be KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Amen.
So we came up with this kind of graphic, which we call our easiest 1, 2, 3 graphic. And we said, these are the 3 things that we want to happen. 1, you essentially have to have some type of office hours. You need to provide some type of direct instruction, and you need to have some type of assignment. So we said, as a campus, you have 1 assignment a week. You need to have at least have an office hour a week, but then you need to be available from 8 to 3 every single day. So it has been really simple. And then we started hearing other campuses were doing a whole bunch more. And so then our district, who normally doesn't really give campuses, not in a bad way, but in our district, the campuses have a lot of power to kind of do what they need to do for their kids. Well, the district came back and said, we're going to do what they're doing at their school. And so that became a district-wide thing to kind of simplify for everybody. And knowing that we have so many kids that are in so many different situations right now, whether it's your family has COVID-19, or you have a parent who's losing their job, or you don't have access to the internet, or whatever it may be. So like, we don't know people's situations, so we're not going to stress. Make people stress out about this. Teachers.
Yeah, that's so true. Like earlier today, just like I lost internet for 6 hours. I had no idea why. It just didn't happen. And then like all I could think about was like, I can't check my email if a student's trying to get to me right now. Like I can't. This is technically supposed to be my office hours. Like I was actually I couldn't do anything. And then I had a realization. I was like, well, I wonder about those kids who aren't checking in right now. Like I wonder if this is what they're feeling on the daily, because they physically can't do it every single day, and I'm only experiencing for 6 hours. So that's an interesting thing.
What
education.
What type of things are your teachers dealing with? Like, what are their concerns? Also known as complaints. Like, what when you talk, whenever they're coming to you, like, what are they venting to you about?
I think the number one thing is it's a shift in mindset. So from the district perspective, and like I said, we kind of started it, and then the district kind of followed our policy. But one of the things that we did for grading purposes is, 1, no kid gets zeros, anything like that. And they can't make anything lower than they made the last grading cycle. So but for teachers, that's a huge mind shift for a lot of teachers. They're
Yeah.
like, wait,
Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Yeah.
they didn't do it. And it's like, but you don't know their struggles right now, and we're not going to stress them about that. So everything that you do right now is just to benefit you. So some teachers are like, well, how do I get this kid's not doing anything? And I will tell you, we're reaching out. Like, we do expect that teachers reach out, but then we have a form where all of the assistant principals, we go in and we call parents regularly just to touch base. But I've had some parents who are like, well, my kid's stuck in Honduras, and he's been in Honduras with his dad because he left for spring break and he wasn't able to come back.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, we just got to be flexible and know that we're going to have to change it.
Yeah, I'm thankful. Our principal, she's like go with the flow type of person. She got on there and she's like, grace not grades, love not lessons. So I mean, she's great. And like she kind of just put me at ease because, in the grand scheme of things, like, our lessons and people's lives, it's like, our job right now is to support, still give them instruction and, like help them where we can,
So then I have a question about that. Okay, so
you have a question to who?
Mostly to Kenneth because I've already talked to you before.
I was hoping not. Okay.
Right, but that being said, I mean, like, because that's the exact same thing that we did in our district, and I mean, I get it, and I do not disagree with it at all. Like, grace not grades, love not lessons, like, and that's understandable for the situation we're in. So now, here's the thing: we have to shift the conversation to what's coming in the future, and I'm curious to see what you guys are talking about where you are, Kenneth. But I mean, the truth of the matter is right now, no one knows what is going to happen. So we have to start preparing for all the scenarios, right? If we want to be effective. And one of the things we've said a lot on this program is that even if we prepare for online learning exclusively, and then we go back to an actual campus, we haven't lost anything because we can just integrate that technology and make our classrooms better. Right?
Yeah.
But if we sit and fold our hands and say, I'm not dealing with that technology and I'm not doing this online learning until they tell me I have to, we're going to get caught off guard as we did this time. But we can't look at a whole school year and say love, not lessons. We can't look at an entire school year and say grace, not grades, because then kids aren't learning anything. And then we're going to have like generations of kids that are behind, And so
play video games.
Right. Well, you can make money doing that, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess, Kenneth, maybe give a little insight if you guys have started having these conversations and what are your plans looking like? And are you preparing for a shift, or, are you guys still kind of riding the wave saying we're not sure what to do? Because both are legitimate. So where are you guys? Just for a little insight.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, there's kind of, again, I always say there's two parts, but there really is two parts. There is the part, if we come back to school, we're going to have a bunch of kids that are going to be behind because whether or not we like it, giving 1 grade a week and everything, a lot of times that's not enough. And the kids don't get the direct instruction they really need. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have kids that are behind regardless. We had kids that left us.
Behind.
That particularly strikes home for me because that's one of my areas of supervision is intervention and everything like that on campus. And so I'm already looking forward as what are we going to do for these kids? And I'm going to have more kids that I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to intervene for as a campus than we've ever had before.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side. Well, what if we don't even come back? What if we have to go to digital learning? And we're not a one-to-one campus. We're not a one-to-one district. And we did do a good job of, and I will say this too, a side note, we don't have a lot of kids that needed the technology. I think we maybe checked out 100 Chromebooks maybe, and things like that. But if this is a long-term thing, or we still do have some kids that just don't have internet access, and do everything on their phones or whatever it is. So I don't think we've really had the conversations about digital learning and what that will look like. And I think our district is operating on the principle that we're going back. I will be honest, not knowing if we are or not. I don't know. I do think we're operating on that principle that we are going back. But one of the main things that our superintendent said last week was even if we do go to digital learning, it is not going to be the same as the grades. So it is
Yeah.
going to be, it's going
Yeah.
to have to be robust. It's going to have to be
Mhm.
rigorous. It's going to have to meet the same requirements that the kids are getting inside of school.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love what one of the principals in our district said the other day. I thought it was really profound. They said, this thing we may go back to school in August or
Mhm.
September, but this will not be over until every kid is back on grade level.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is the way we really have to think through this.
Mhm.
And
You're right.
it's going to be difficult to like, but how do we get every kid back there? And I'm a huge, and I don't know for you guys, but I'm a huge RTI MTSS person, multi-tiered systems of support, and teachers really understand we've got to teach differently. We've got to,
Hmm.
we can't teach the same way we've taught in the past. And those lessons that we did in the past, we've got to do a whole different thing now because we're going to have to be doing support with kids. We're going to have to be doing remediation. But we're also going to have to be excelling kids throughout the day. It's not going to even be in a week. It's going to be in a day.
He's
So
he's such a principal, isn't he? Doesn't he sound like a principal? Yeah,
Well,
you're right though. Yeah.
do you think that maybe, and I don't know, I just came up with this idea, but like maybe incorporating like an RTI as an overall, just like a class, like maybe that's a solution to try to get kids caught up. So that way they're doing what they're supposed to be doing in their classrooms, trying to, they see the level that they need to be at or whatever. And then maybe there's a ninth class period or the eighth class
We
period
had
a
that.
day
We
or
had that at our
something.
school.
mhm.
So
We had
I
one
don't
that
know.
week.
So for us, and I think a lot of schools kind of do this differently. We do an advisory period, and our advisory period, what we is a very different from most advisory periods. It's interest based. So um, if you are if you want to be in the barbecue club, you go to barbecue club for 30 minutes a day. Um, and it's just 2 days a week. Or you could be in the drone club, or you could be in whatever club. We have a mixing club for DJ type things, all kind of stuff. And so, but we do have a few groups that are RTI based and that we use to put kids in. One of the things that I've already started having conversations about is we're going to have to make those groups larger. We're going to have more
Mhm.
RTI intervention groups than we've had in the past, and unfortunately, less
Oh
interest than
yeah, yeah.
we've had.
Yeah.
My district has something similar to that, and the interest groups are always like huge. Like I
Mhm,
think the fishing club is like
mhm,
60, 80
Oh,
people
I'm
or something
sure.
like
I'm
that. Like
sure.
it's ginormous, and they do that for a reason, so that way the RTI stuff is very small. I think it's maybe a max of 8 kids or something like that, so that way those kids get what they need. But you're right, like those groups are gonna have to get so much bigger just because of the sheer volume of the kids. So like I don't know, like I'm racking my brain, like how can that work? Because the whole idea behind that stuff is so that way it's a small group. How can you have a small group when there's so many kids that need it? I don't know.
And my thought is, it's what's going to have to happen. It's going to have to happen in the classroom, and that's where I go back to. We're going to have to rethink the way we teach. Our classrooms are going to have to be focused on small groups for kids, conferencing with kids on um, their specific learning goals, and being more prescriptive than we've ever been before.
Hmm.
And in the past, I think we kind of, and good or bad, we do the one size fits all, and then we try to go back and get those kids. We're going to have to be more proactive and prescriptive for those kids we know are coming in with gaps and issues.
Mhm.
Okay, let me ask you this, and then I'll let Mosley, because I think he's got a question that's burning in his pocket. Uh,
I always have a question. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I was ready.
um,
I worked with Pratt most of my career. Always ready to go.
do you think the amount of knowledge that we've gained with like how to use technology in order to teach will counterbalance the amount of kids that we will need to teach in order to raise them up? So in other words, the amount of RTI and things that need to happen, maybe it can happen faster and at a higher quality because like we now know how to use all this technology because we were forced to use it.
Honestly, I hadn't really even thought about that point, and I think that's kind of a good point. Like but I don't know. I don't know. Because I'm going to take myself out of high school for a second. Like elementary, that's a whole different ball game.
Oh yeah.
Technology, and so I don't know. Hopefully, I think it'll only enhance what we're doing. I can put my high learners and they can work on some instructional stuff that I have online, and I can work in a small group with some of my um, students who need improvement. But yeah, I'm not sure on that. I'll be honest, I really haven't even thought of that point yet.
Well, to be fair, that's a thought that I just thought of. So,
well,
we're gonna write that down.
We have actually kind of thought about that on this show because we talked about it a few episodes back, and we said that the thing that this online education has done and moving to this digital platform, it has demanded more personalization. And I think what we're going to discover if we do go back in a normal setting is we're going to have to figure out how to personalize better. Because a lot of times, we stick kids in classes and, you got your top kids, you got your middle kids, and you got your low kids. And then we try to work around those three groups. And I think we're going to find kids at so many different levels at this point that you're going to have to look at Billy and Johnny and Susie and Mary to make sure that they're getting what they need, which in reality is what should be happening anyways, but it's just not the way the system works. So,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just and y'all talked about your classroom management and things like that. That's gonna become even more important because now you have kids doing all kinds of different things and in all these different places.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna really have to have strong classroom management and really know how to effectively run my classroom.
Well, if you would like to bring us in, we would love to do a workshop with your staff and give them tips and tricks on how to make that better, or whatever we can do. Yeah.
We got to figure out if we're going to be doing digital professional development.
Well, look, first 5 minutes is free.
Yeah, yeah.
First 5 minutes.
So, speaking of that, so as you were talking, Kenneth, you said a couple words that I wrote down. Not because I've never heard them before, but because I thought it made me like kind of put a pin on a couple of things, and that was like mindset and like being adaptable, because that's what I talk to my kids a lot about. And I think one thing I'm good at or I've worked on is kind of helping mold the mindset of students. And so I think one thing that we're going to have to start having a conversation is the mindset of the teachers and the mindset of the kids, moving them more toward being coachable and adaptable. Because like one thing I work with my kids this year is like the level that they receive information. Like you can learn from a rock, or you can have a brilliant person in front of you and not get anything from it. So we took time this year and then we evaluated, we talked about it a lot. And so like I did a leadership training for the last like 3 weeks, and I had about 50 kids, something like that. And they were doing things outside of school and doing more, and they had to meet with each other, and they did a lot of stuff. But I've had a chance to get them to like talk about the ownership piece, But I think moving forward, that's a conversation that maybe admin are going to have to start having conversations about. And it's kind of easy to kind of throw under the rug because it's not like content, but I think it assists with the culture of things, and the culture is what helps, create the right environment for you to teach better. So I guess, I don't know, you said that, so I guess you think on the same way that I do about helping mold the mindset of teachers and kids to be adaptable.
Everybody's going to have to be adaptable.
I know.
But for us, we're going to have to really be intentional in teaching kids how to be adaptable and how to. I heard this term, and since I've heard it, I started using it. How to fail forward and know it's okay to fail, and just get back up and let's keep going. And maybe right now you're struggling in this, but we're gonna get you there. And we need teachers to really encourage that. Encourage them when they do fail. And I think we have teachers that do that every day. They do a great job of that. I think teachers do an amazing job with that. I think that's just going to be even more important, or even more in the forefront. Like you said, the culture classroom is going to be at the front, and then it'll be the content pieces.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of as we kind of wrap up this episode, I kind of want to think on this. So from an administrative standpoint, and I'm gonna ask you this question and probably give you a follow up, just so you are prepared.
Oh, he always has a follow up.
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Kind of tell me right now, from an administrative standpoint on your campus, because that's your lens, if we go back to normal in August, and then if we stay in a virtual environment, so those two opposite spectrums, tell me what you think are going to be the two biggest struggles for teachers in both of those scenarios.
For teachers, again, I'm going to go back to shifting that mindset of I can't teach it. I can't teach everything that I've always taught. We're going to have to pare down to those essential skills, those big things that kids need to know. We can't teach all 50 teaks. You're going to get to them at some point, but you really got to hammer down on the essential skills. And I think that's whether you're doing virtual learning or in-person learning. And I think that's going to be difficult for teachers. I think if we have some hybrid version of that, where some kids are going to choose to be distance and some kids are on campus, that's going to be difficult for teachers, because now I have to figure out this kid that maybe I haven't even met, where he's at, and the kid that sits in front of me. So now I have a whole new element in my classroom. How do I raise this kid's achievement? And he's never even sat in my classroom before. I just know him from being online.
So I guess my follow-up to that, kind of for everybody, if anybody has a thought on this, is what advice can we give right now to teachers and or administrators to begin to prepare? Because right now, I mean, school's done in a week or two for most people, and everybody is right, and everybody's just like that. They're in shutdown mode. They're like, I'm ready to be done, and like, this is a bad dream. Let's let it all go away. We'll just start over.
Yeah, but bad dream that looks the same almost every day.
Right. Let me tell you something though. We are going back in August one way or the other, and when we do, it is going to be different one way or the other. So, as teachers and admin are wanting to just shut down right now, what advice would you all say? Kind of as a parting thought tonight, what advice would you say, like, make sure that you keep this moving forward so that we don't get caught in this situation again?
I had a meeting with my department today, and one thing our AP said, and she's great, like, she thinks the same way, adaptable, and like she's about like teachers. She said, like, right now, come up with a plan for both, like have an A and a plan B. She said that way we're not caught off guard. You can have blah, 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 blah. If we have A, and we're hoping for one, but if you have the other, we already have some things in place. Think about procedures and normal procedures that happen at the beginning of school. Think about how you can change those, or, have different type of procedures if we do things digitally. And we're just going to keep on monitoring those. And these are the conversations that we're going to have starting the school year, so I guess our advice, or my advice, would be from that was like, have a plan A and a plan B. Think about things you normally do and how you can shift that to still be as effective as possible, and think about what you're going to do to build a good classroom culture on this side.
Well, yeah. I would say something, and Kenneth, you said something that really, I don't remember exactly what you said, but it triggered this thought, and it's from like when I took online classes from when I was in college, that online, like when it comes to strictly virtual, the student, the learner, basically has to meet the content. And when you're face to face, the teacher is able to reconstruct the content to meet the student. So I think that's one of the things. So maybe my advice would be is to keep that in mind, that it's harder to make the content reach the student when it's virtual compared to when it's face to face. So try your hardest to try to find a way to make the content reach the student through the virtual lens, or whatever you want to call it.
That's good.
That's a good. And I think my piece of advice, one is end the year at the best way we can right now. I don't know if it's something fun, if it's something creative, just to get kids leaving on the happiest note, leaving on the happiest note that they can, so we can start the year off on the best note we can. And then I think it goes back to some of the things that I've already said. Have a plan for classroom management, have a plan for building that culture in your classroom, whether, and y'all all said this, whether it's virtually or face to face, because all of it's going to be different.
Yeah.
We're not coming back to the same school that we are used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, Kenneth, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Mosley.
I just want to make sure that I did. I wanted to thank you because, good friend, I know you've had a long day. I want to say that I'm very proud of the work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I've known you for a long time. I was really worried about the wrong path that you were going down, but you definitely straightened it up. No, I was kidding. I mean, you're doing a great job up there. I've seen, you do some great things. So thank you for joining us. You are our first official guest on the Teach Bigger podcast. And so, your check is in the mail. It might come 20 years from now, but it is in the mail.
I will remember that.
Yeah. So thank you, and thank all administrators for what you're doing right now to help us get through this time. So that was my piece. Pratt, you may say what you have to say now.
No, that's it. So, man, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your advice. So that's great stuff. So thanks for watching. We ask you to subscribe to the channel, like it, hit the little notification thingy, so that way you know whenever we have new content.
And share it. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Kenneth's gonna tell his friends. Things that watch me.
Yeah.
So tell Kenneth's friends.
Chris is my only friend.
Right. We've already told all of our friends, so that's why we have 9 viewers. So anyways. All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank y'all.